A new bond, a greater war. The courtyard of the Emperor's palace was vast, built of black stone that shimmered with heat. Torches lined the walls and soldiers filled the space like an iron sea. At the center stood Daniel, his clothes torn, his arms burned, and Lyra clinging weakly to him. Before them sat the Dragon Emperor himself. His throne rose high, carved from obsidian, his armor glowing faintly with red flame. His eyes, sharp and ancient, studied them in silence. The uncle who had tried to seize Lyra now knelt, his head bowed. "My emperor," he said, his voice heavy with false respect. The girl lost control. She burned hunters, destroyed property, and shamed our house. And this human, he dares to keep her as if she were his own. Both must be punished. Murmurs rippled through the soldiers. Daniel tightened his grip on Lyra's hand. His heart thundered, but he stood tall. The Emperor finally spoke, his voice calm and deep, carrying across the courtyard. "Lyra, child of my blood, speak." Lyra lifted her head. Her silver glow flickered faintly against the torchlight. "Grandfather," she whispered, "I did not mean to lose control. They left me to die. Daniel saved me. He carried me when no one else would." The Emperor's gaze shifted to Daniel. "A cleaner, a slave. Why risk everything for her?" Daniel's throat was dry, but he forced the words out. "Because no one else would. You call her weak, broken, but I saw her strength. She doesn't need chains. She needs someone who believes in her. And I do." Gasps spread through the courtyard. A human speaking like this in front of the Emperor? Madness. The uncle's voice cut through. Lies. He is twisting her mind. He seeks to use her power for himself. Daniel stepped forward, his body shaking, but his voice unbroken. "No, I don't want her power. I want her safe. If that makes me your enemy, so be it." The uncle snarled and drew his blade, flame racing along its edge. "Blasphemy! Let me kill him now." He lunged, but before his strike could fall, fire erupted, not from his sword, but from Lyra. Her glow blazed brighter than ever before, a white-hot flame mixed with silver. It wrapped around Daniel like a shield, pushing the uncle back. Her weak body trembled, but her voice rang clear. "No, he is mine." The courtyard fell silent. The soldiers froze, their eyes wide. Even the Emperor leaned forward, his expression unreadable. Lyra's voice shook, but her words were strong. "You abandoned me. You called me weak, but he stayed. He chose me when you would not. If family is meant to protect, then he is my family now. Not you." Her fire flared higher, defiant against the night. The uncle staggered back, rage burning in his eyes. "She dares choose a human over us." The Emperor raised his hand and silence fell. His eyes locked on Daniel and Lyra. For a long moment he said nothing. Then slowly he nodded. "The fire in her blood has awakened, and it chose its guardian." His gaze swept the crowd. "This human is no slave. He is the protector of my heir." The soldiers bowed as one, their voices echoing. "Protector of the heir." Daniel's chest tightened. He looked at Lyra, who leaned against him, her silver eyes shining with tears. For the first time he understood. He wasn't just carrying her. They were carrying each other. But the Emperor's next words were heavy as stone. "Know this, boy. By claiming her, you claim her war. Enemies will come. The hunters will not stop. Whole worlds will rise against you both. You may stand as guardian, but greater battles await. A greater war begins." Daniel swallowed hard. He thought of his empty pockets, his broom, the life he once had. A life where no one noticed him. Now the galaxy's eyes were turning toward him and the girl he refused to abandon. He looked at the Emperor, then at the sea of soldiers, and finally at Lyra. Her hand squeezed his weakly, but her eyes shone with trust. Daniel straightened his back. His voice was quiet, but it carried. "Then let them come. I'll stand. For her." The Emperor studied him for another long moment. Then with the faintest smile he said, "So be it." The courtyard erupted in shouts, some of rage, some of awe. The war drums began to beat again, louder, faster. The flames on the palace walls roared high into the sky, and Daniel knew this was no ending. It was the first step into a bond stronger than blood, a bond that would challenge empires, a new bond. A greater war. Fire in the blood. The shack exploded with noise. The hunters slammed against the wooden door, their claws ripping at the weak frame. Daniel braced it with his shoulder, the broom handle across the latch, but it shook with every strike. The wood cracked, splinters flying into his face. Inside, Lyra's glow burned brighter, her body trembling as though something inside her was fighting to break free. She clutched her chest, gasping. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I can't hold it, the fire." "It's waking." Daniel turned his head, his chest heaving. "What fire?" She looked at him with wide, silver eyes that now flickered with faint orange flames. "The blood of my people. It sleeps until we are near death. If it rises, I can't control it." The door cracked again. The hunter's red eyes pierced the gaps, cruel and unblinking. One clawed hand reached through, snapping at Daniel's arm. He shoved it back with a roar, his broom handle splintering in half. "Then don't hold it back," Daniel said through gritted teeth. "If it's the only thing that saves you, use it." Lyra shook her head violently. Tears glistened on her cheeks. "You don't understand. My fire, it destroys. It burns everything. Enemy, friend, even me." The hunters struck again, the door bursting open. The shack filled with shadows, armored figures pouring inside. Their claws gleamed in the dim light, their voices like knives. "Take the girl," one barked. Daniel swung what remained of the broom handle, smashing it against the nearest hunter's mask. The blow barely dented the armor, but it stunned the creature for a heartbeat. Another claw slashed across Daniel's arm, tearing flesh. Pain shot through him, but he stood firm, blocking the path to Lyra. "Run!" he shouted, but Lyra wasn't running. She was on her knees, clutching her chest, her glow rising like a storm. Her body shook, and from her veins a strange fire seeped, lines of orange light tracing across her skin. Her breath came ragged, each exhale carrying sparks. The hunters froze. For the first time, their voices lost their calm. "The blood!" It awakens. Lyra's scream split the night. Flames burst from her body, a wave of searing light that filled the shack. The wooden walls ignited fire racing across the roof. Hunters staggered back, their armor glowing red from heat. One fell, his mask cracking as molten flame poured into the gaps. Daniel shielded his face, the heat blistering his skin, but he did not step away from her. He reached for her hand. "Lyra, stay with me." Her body convulsed, her silver eyes blazing like molten suns. Fire spiraled from her, tearing through wood, stone, and steel alike. The hunters howled, their voices swallowed by the roar of flames. But Daniel's hand never left hers. Through the fire, through the heat that threatened to consume them both, he gripped her tighter. "You're not alone. Control it. Listen to me, don't let them win." Her eyes flickered between fury and fear. The fire clawed at the air, desperate to burn everything it touched. Daniel pulled her closer, even as his arms blistered. "It's your fire, not theirs. Not a curse, yours. Use it to fight, not to destroy." For a heartbeat, her flames faltered. The storm stilled, pulsing instead of raging. She looked into his eyes, tears of light falling down her face. "You believe in me, always," he whispered. A shudder ran through her body. The wildfire shrank, bending inward, focusing. The lines of orange along her skin glowed steady, no longer out of control. The flames licked the hunters like blades instead of waves, sharp, precise, deadly. One by one, the hunters fell. Their armor melted, their masks shattered, their screams cut short by the fire that wrapped around them like a living thing. When the last one dropped, silence filled the burning shack. Lyra collapsed, her glow dimming to a faint shimmer. Smoke rose from her hair, her body trembling with exhaustion. Daniel dropped beside her, pulling her into his arms, despite the burns on his skin. He coughed through the smoke, his chest aching, but he managed a broken laugh. "Guess they didn't expect that." Lyra rested her head against his shoulder, whispering weakly. "I almost lost myself." "But you didn't," Daniel said firmly. He stroked her hair, his voice steady, even as flames consumed the shack around them. "You're stronger than you think." Outside, distant horns echoed in the night. More hunters were coming. The fire had only delayed them, but Daniel held Lyra tighter. For the first time, he didn't feel like a cleaner or a slave or a man with nothing. He felt like a shield, a guardian. And he knew whatever war had just begun, they would face it together. The family's judgment. The fire had burned the shack to black ash. Smoke curled into the night sky, carrying with it the smell of scorched wood, metal, and blood. Daniel half dragged, half-carried Lyra through the fields, his arms shaking from exhaustion. Her body was weak, her glow dim, but she was alive. That was all that mattered, but the sound of horns did not stop. Drums echoed from the distance. Lights flickered across the horizon, torches, dozens of them, moving closer. The hunters had not been destroyed. They were only the first wave. Daniel's heart pounded. He looked at the girl in his arms, then toward the colony walls where he knew the Emperor's family resided. Soon they would know what had happened. Soon, judgment would come. They did not have to wait long. By morning, armored riders swept across the fields, their banners red and gold with the symbol of a dragon. At their center rode a tall figure in black and crimson armor, his cloak trailing like fire behind him. His face was hidden behind a mask, but the way the others bowed made it clear. This was one of the Emperor's family. The riders encircled Daniel and Lyra, their weapons gleaming. Daniel held the girl tighter, planting his feet firmly in the dust. His body ached, his skin was burned, but he stood like stone. The masked rider dismounted. His voice cut the silence. "You dare to keep what is ours?" Daniel's throat tightened, but he forced the words out. "She's not yours. She's not property. She's a child." The rider tilted his head. Slowly he removed his mask. His face was sharp, pale, his eyes like burning coals. His voice dripped with disdain. "She is blood of the House of Flame. She carries what we command. Her power belongs to the throne." Lyra stirred weakly, her voice breaking through the dust-filled air. "Uncle!" Daniel's chest tightened. "Uncle!" This was her family. The man's eyes narrowed at her. "You shame us, Lyra. Your fire was meant to serve the Empire, not burn its soldiers. And now," he glanced at Daniel, his lips curling, "you let a human touch you, carry you, protect you. You disgrace your bloodline." Daniel's jaw clenched. He could feel the heat of the rider's weapons aimed at him, but the anger in his chest burned hotter. "She would have died," he spat. "You left her in the field. You abandoned her like trash. If family means throwing your own to the harvester's blades, then maybe she's better off without you." The circle of riders shifted uneasily. Some tightened their grips. Others exchanged quick looks. His words struck like stones against glass, small cracks, but cracks all the same. The uncle's face hardened. "You think your words matter, human? You are dirt beneath our boots. Do you know why she was left in the field? Because her blood is weak. She was born fragile, broken. Her fire was nothing. She was a burden, and burdens have no place in the House of Flame." Lyra's weak glow flickered. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Daniel stepped closer, shielding her with his body. His voice rose sharp and steady. "Then you're not family. Family doesn't leave their own to die. Family doesn't call love a weakness." The uncle's eyes blazed. "Silence!" But Daniel did not back down. His voice carried across the circle, louder now. "You fear her. That's what this is. You know her fire is stronger than yours. You know she's not weak. She's more powerful than all of you. And that's why you want to chain her." A murmur rippled through the riders. Even behind their helmets, Daniel could feel their unease. The uncle raised his hand, fire swirling in his palm. "Enough. If you will not hand her over, then both of you will burn." Lyra weakly gripped Daniel's sleeve. Her silver eyes shone faintly. "Don't fight them. You can't win." Daniel bent close, whispering, "I don't care. I won't let them take you." The uncle's fire grew brighter, a ball of flame ready to strike. The riders held their breath. The air itself trembled with heat, and then a voice thundered from beyond the circle. "Stop!" All heads turned. Another rider approached, her armor silver and black, her banner marked with the crest of the Emperor himself. She dismounted with calm grace, her helmet tucked under her arm. Her eyes, gold like the sun, swept across the scene. "The Emperor will hear of this," she said coldly. "And judgment will not come from you alone, brother." Daniel stood frozen, holding Lyra close. For the first time he saw doubt flicker in the uncle's fiery gaze. The family's judgment had only begun. Whispers of betrayal. The shack was silent except for Lyra's shallow breaths. Daniel sat near the door, gripping the broom handle like a weapon. Sleep tugged at his eyes, but he fought it. He had grown up in this colony long enough to know danger never slept. The girl stirred in her sleep, murmuring words in her strange tongue. Sometimes her voice rose, sharp with fear, as though she was speaking to someone who wasn't there. Daniel wanted to shake her awake, but he didn't. She looked so fragile, so tired, that even her nightmares seemed better than waking. Then came the knock. 3 soft raps against the shack's wooden wall. Not loud, not demanding. Too soft, as if whoever was out there didn't want others to hear. Daniel froze, every muscle tight. His hand squeezed the broom handle until his knuckles went white. Slowly, he stood and moved toward the door. "Daniel," a voice whispered. He stopped cold. He knew that voice. It was Joran, another janitor from the fields, a man he sometimes worked beside. Joran had always been friendly, sharing water or scraps of food when times were hard. But now his voice held something else, urgency. "Daniel, open up." "I know she's in there." Daniel's heart pounded. He didn't answer. Joran knocked again, this time harder. "Listen, I'm not here to hurt you. But you need to understand. Keeping her alive is a death sentence. For you, for all of us." Daniel glanced back at the cart. Lyra had woken, her silver eyes wide with terror. She shook her head slowly, her lips forming silent words. "Don't trust him." Daniel's chest tightened. "Why are you here, Joran?" he asked through the door. There was a pause. Then Joran's voice came low, almost a hiss. "Because I don't want to die when they come looking. I've seen what hunters do. They don't care who gets in their way. If you hand her over now, maybe they'll show mercy." Lyra's breathing quickened. She pushed herself up, weak but desperate. "No," she whispered. "He lies." "They sent him." Daniel's mind spun. Could it be true? Joran had always seemed harmless, just another worker beaten down by alien masters. But now... His timing was too perfect. "Daniel!" Joran called again, his tone sharpening. "I'm your friend, but if you keep her, you'll be marked as a traitor. Do you understand? They'll chain you, whip you, and hang your body at the gate for all to see." "Is she worth that?" The words pressed into Daniel's chest like a blade. He thought of the life he had. Empty pockets, endless labor, a future already stolen. He had nothing. Nothing but this choice. He looked at Lyra. She sat trembling, her hand reaching for his. Her silver glow flickered faintly in the dim light, fragile yet stubborn, as if she was clinging to existence with everything she had left. "Please," she whispered. "Don't let them take me." Something in her voice broke the last chain of doubt inside him. Daniel turned back to the door. "No, Joran," he said firmly. "She stays." Silence, then a low laugh from the other side. Not the laugh of a friend. Cold, mocking. "I warned you," Joran said. "The hunters will come, and when they do, they'll take her, and you, and anyone who tries to help. You've chosen death, Daniel." His footsteps crunched in the dust as he walked away. Daniel stood there, gripping the door frame until the wood dug into his palm. His body shook, not from fear alone, but from anger. Anger at Joran, at this colony, at a world where saving a life was considered betrayal. He turned back to Lyra. She had tears in her silver eyes. "You see?" she said softly. "Betrayal is always near. Even friends can be knives." Daniel sat beside her, his chest heavy. "Then let them come. If they want you, they'll have to go through me first." Her hand trembled as it touched his arm. "Why risk so much? You owe me nothing." Daniel met her gaze. "Because I've been treated like nothing all my life. And I'm tired of it." "You're not nothing, Lyra. Not to me." For a moment, silence filled the shack. Her eyes widened, shining with something he couldn't name. Fear, gratitude, maybe even trust. But outside, in the distance, faint howls carried on the night wind. Not the sound of animals, the sound of something hunting. Daniel tightened his grip on the broom handle. The hunters were coming, and betrayal was already inside the colony walls. And he knew this was only the beginning. The hunter's eyes, the night was too quiet. Daniel sat by the window of the shack, his broom handle resting across his knees. Lyra lay on the cot, her glow faint but steady. She had finally drifted into a shallow sleep, though her hand still gripped the edge of the blanket as if she feared it would be torn away. Daniel's eyes scanned the horizon. He had worked in the colony fields long enough to know the signs of trouble, broken silence, strange shadows, the way the air itself felt heavier. Tonight, everything carried that weight. Then he saw them. 2 pinpricks of red light moving slowly across the dark. Not torches, not lamps. Eyes. Daniel's breath caught. The hunters had arrived. He ducked lower, pulling the curtain across the window. His heart hammered in his chest, every beat louder than the last. He whispered to himself, "Stay calm, stay quiet." But the sound of boots crunching on dry soil grew closer. Not one set, many. Lyra stirred. Her eyes opened, catching the faint glow from outside. She knew before he said a word. "They are here," she whispered, her voice trembling. Daniel nodded. He held a finger to his lips. The hunters stopped outside the shack. Shadows stretched long across the walls, shifting like monsters. For a moment no one moved. Then came a sharp knock on the wooden door. "Open," a cold voice commanded. It was deep, smooth, and terrifyingly calm. "We know what lies inside." Daniel didn't answer. His grip tightened on the broom handle, though he knew it was no real weapon against armored killers. Another knock, harder this time. The door shook. "Do not test us. The girl belongs to us." Lyra's silver glow pulsed brighter. She pushed herself up on trembling arms, her face pale. "If they see me," she whispered, "they will not stop. They will burn this place to ash." "Then we won't let them see," Daniel said quickly. He moved to the back of the shack, where loose boards leaned against the wall. He pulled one aside, revealing a narrow gap leading into the dark fields. "Go," he urged. "I'll follow." But she shook her head. "They will know. Their eyes, they can see through lies, through walls, through night itself." As if to prove her words, the red lights outside grew brighter. They weren't eyes alone. They were scanning beams, sweeping over the shack like predators sniffing the air. Wherever the light passed, the wood glowed faintly, as if being peeled open. Lyra pressed closer to him, her breath quick and shallow. "If they lock their eyes on me, it is over." Daniel swallowed hard. He thought of Joran's warning, of betrayal whispering at the door. He thought of the colony guards who would never come to help. It was just him. Him and the girl the Empire wanted dead. The hunter's voice came again, louder, sharper. "This is your final chance. Step aside, human. She is not yours to keep." Daniel felt a strange fire rise in his chest. He was tired of being ordered around, tired of living as less than nothing. He looked at Lyra, her fragile glow trembling in the dark, and made his choice. He whispered, "Stay hidden, no matter what." Then he stood and walked to the door. With a deep breath, he opened it just a crack. The night outside was a wall of shadows. Figures loomed in the dark, tall, armored, faces hidden behind masks. And the eyes, red and burning, scanning, searching. One of the hunters leaned forward, metal claws tapping against the doorframe. His voice dripped like poison. "Where is she?" Daniel stared back, fear clawing at his throat, but he forced his voice steady. "No one's here but me." The hunter tilted his head. The red beams of his eyes swept over Daniel's face, over his chest, as though peeling away his skin to see what lay beneath. For a long, terrifying moment silence stretched. Then the hunter chuckled low and cruel. "You think you can hide her, foolish human? Our eyes do not lie." Behind Daniel, Lyra's glow brightened, faint but visible through the cracks of the shack. The hunters turned as one. Their red eyes locked on her. Daniel's stomach dropped. The game was over. They had seen. The hunter leaned closer, his masked face inches from Daniel's. "Step aside, or die with her." Daniel's hands trembled, but he did not move. His broom handle pressed against the floor like a spear. He whispered one word. "No." The hunter's laughter filled the night. The red eyes glowed brighter, burning through the dark. And for the first time in years, Daniel felt alive, not as a slave, not as a cleaner, but as a man standing between death and someone who needed him. The hunter's eyes promised death, but Daniel's heart promised something else. The girl in the field, the sky was the color of ash. A bitter wind blew across the wide alien fields, carrying with it the low roar of the harvesters. The massive machines moved like metal beasts, their spinning blades tearing through the golden crops. Nothing stood in their way. Nothing survived when they passed, and yet in the middle of the field, a small figure lay in the dirt. She was young, her silver skin dull with sickness, her thin arms shaking as she tried to move. The ground trembled under her, dust rising in the air as the harvesters drew closer. Their blades shone like sharp suns, slicing everything before them. Her family stood at the edge of the field. They didn't look at her. They didn't speak her name. They turned their backs and walked away. To them, she was already gone. No one cared. The girl pressed her cheek against the dry soil. Her breath came in short gasps. She wanted to cry, but no tears came. The harvester's roar grew louder. The earth shook harder. She closed her eyes, waiting for the end, but then... Footsteps. Daniel was just a human janitor, another face in the colony no one noticed. His job was simple. Sweep the dirt, fix the lights, clean the machines the aliens didn't want to touch. He had walked these fields every day, ignored by all. Today, he was heading back from a broken water pump when he saw her. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. A child lying in the path of the harvesters. Impossible. The aliens were cruel, yes, but not this cruel. He stopped, squinting through the dust. Then he saw the truth. She was real. A living girl. And no one was helping her. Daniel's heart slammed against his ribs. The harvesters were less than 100 meters away, their engines screaming. If he turned now, he would be safe. No one would blame him. No one would even notice. But his legs moved on their own. He dropped his tools and ran into the field. Dust filled his lungs and the roar of the machines grew deafening. The girl's weak eyes opened when she heard him, confusion flickering in their silver depths. "Don't move," Daniel shouted over the thunder of the blades. "I've got you." Her lips trembled, but no sound came out. The harvesters were almost upon her now, their shadows stretching over the ground like the wings of death. The workers on the edges of the field laughed. "Stupid human," one of them sneered. "Let him die too." Daniel didn't care. His boots pounded the soil. The blades were so close now that he could feel the wind of their spin tearing against his skin. His arms burned as he scooped the girl into his chest. She was so light, like lifting a bundle of sticks. The harvesters roared past just as he leapt out of the way. The ground shook with the force. Blades screamed against the crops, slicing everything but missing them by only a few breaths. Dust exploded around them, covering Daniel and the girl in choking darkness. For a long moment, all he could hear was his own heartbeat. Then silence. He opened his eyes. They were alive. Somehow they were alive. The girl clung to him weakly, her silver fingers curled into his shirt. Her chest rose and fell in shallow breaths. She whispered something in her alien tongue, a soft sound like broken glass. Daniel didn't understand the words, but he understood the meaning. She was asking why. Why would he save her when even her family had not? He didn't answer. He didn't have an answer. He only knew one thing. He could not walk away. The harvesters rolled on, uncaring, their work unfinished. The aliens at the field's edge turned away, muttering to each other. To them, this was a mistake, a human risking his life for a girl meant to be left behind. Daniel tightened his grip on her and began walking. Her body was cold, too cold. She needed help, a doctor, medicine, something. He didn't know if he could give her what she needed, but he would try. The girl stirred in his arms. Her eyes opened again, faintly glowing in the fading light. She looked at him, searching, as if trying to understand what kind of creature would stand against death for her. Daniel looked back, his jaw set. He didn't care what she was. He only knew this. She was alive, and she deserved to stay alive. Behind them, the harvesters tore the land apart. Ahead of them, shadows stretched long across the colony walls. For the first time in years, Daniel felt something burn in his chest. Not fear, not duty, something else, hope, and he didn't yet know it. But saving this one abandoned girl was about to pull him into a war that stretched far beyond the fields. A hand in the dust Daniel's arms burned as he carried the girl across the broken field. Dust clung to his face and clothes, mixing with sweat. His shoulder ached, but he refused to stop. The harvesters were behind them now, but their roar still echoed like a memory of death. The girl was so light, he wondered how she had survived this long. Her breathing was shallow, her silver eyes half closed. Every so often, her small hand twitched weakly against his chest, as if she was trying to hold on. "Stay with me," Daniel muttered. "Just a little longer." He reached the edge of the field where other workers stood. None of them moved to help. They only stared. Some shook their heads, some sneered. "Foolish human," one muttered. "She was left for the blades. She is nothing. Why risk your life for her?" Daniel clenched his jaw and ignored them. He had heard worse all his life. The aliens of this colony treated humans as little more than tools. Janitors, diggers, sweepers. Good for cleaning up their dirt and nothing else. But as he looked down at the girl in his arms, pale and trembling, he felt anger rise inside him. She was not nothing. She was a life. He walked past the staring crowd, their whispers biting at his back, and made his way toward the old maintenance shack near the colony wall. It wasn't much, just a small room filled with tools, a broken cot and water tanks. But it was hidden, forgotten. No one came here but him. He pushed the door open with his foot and stepped inside. The air was cooler, quieter. He laid the girl gently on the cot. She shivered, her lips pale, her breath coming in short, painful gasps. Daniel grabbed a rag and dipped it into a bucket of water. Carefully, he wiped the dust and sweat from her face. The water turned dark quickly, but her silver skin slowly began to shine faintly beneath the grime. "Better," he murmured. The girl opened her eyes. They glowed faintly, like silver stars dimmed by clouds. Her lips moved, forming words he couldn't understand. It was her language, soft and broken. Daniel leaned closer. "I don't understand. Can you speak standard?" She blinked, struggling. After a long pause, a whisper escaped. "Why?" Daniel frowned. "Why what?" Her eyes locked on his. "Why, save me." The question cut deeper than any blade. Daniel sat back, running a hand through his dusty hair. Why, he could have walked away. Everyone else had. But when he saw her lying there, abandoned, he couldn't. "Because someone had to," he said simply. Her lips trembled as if she wanted to argue, but no strength remained. Her eyes closed again. Daniel quickly checked the shack. He found an old blanket and wrapped it around her thin body. He set a jar of water near the cot, hoping she could drink when she woke. Then he sat on the floor, his back against the wall, and watched her breathe. Hours passed. Outside, the harvesters moved farther away, their engines fading into the distance. Night fell, and the colony lights flickered on, bathing the sky in a dull glow. Daniel dozed lightly, but every sound outside kept him on edge. He knew the others wouldn't forget what he had done. Saving the girl wasn't just foolish, it was dangerous. If her family wanted her gone, they would not stay silent. A soft sound pulled him from his thoughts. The girl was awake again. She tried to sit up, but her body trembled too much. Daniel hurried over, steadying her. "Easy. You're safe here," he said. Her silver eyes studied him. In their depths he saw confusion, fear, and something else. "Hope. My name," she whispered. "Lyra." Daniel nodded. "Lyra. Good. You're going to be all right." She shook her head weakly. "No, they will come. They always come," his brow furrowed. "Who?" Her gaze drifted to the broken door, her voice trembling. "The hunters, my family. They left me for them. I was chosen to die." Daniel felt a chill crawl up his spine. Hunters, chosen to die? He wanted to ask more, but her strength failed. She collapsed back onto the cot, her chest rising and falling with shallow breaths. Daniel sat beside her, gripping the broom handle he had leaned against the wall. He had no answers, only questions. But one thing was certain, if the harvesters hadn't taken her, something else was meant to. And now, because of him, she was still alive. He looked at Lyra, her fragile form glowing faintly under the blanket. Whatever danger she carried, he had pulled it into his life, and he didn't regret it. Not yet. Outside, in the shadows near the colony wall, unseen eyes watched the shack. A low, inhuman whisper carried on the wind. The hunters had already noticed.